Welcome back to Teacher Kenny's English for Everyone. Hope you've been doing okay, and I know you've been studying, haven't you? If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, or I'll come get you. If you watch it, subscribe. It's free. I'll never charge you anything. Thought today, try to talk a little bit about why you are learning English. Everybody has a reason. You may be a student, and in your country it's compulsory, mandatory. You may need English for your job, or maybe you just like English. Maybe you like watching English movies and you want to understand more of the native speech. There are lots of reasons why we study English today, and it all started long ago, back in the old days when all the English-speaking people, they had their boats and they were going from country to country and trying to install a trade route. It's for business. But the forefathers of English, they could not help themselves from when they stopped in a country. Hey, we're going to teach you a little bit of English, all right? And countries like Africa and India say, okay, let's do some trade and we'll learn your words. That's kind of how all that started. Today, English is compulsory in many countries. In Europe, a lot of it's geography. If you're near the United Kingdom, it may just be geography. Kind of like here in America, South America is not very far away, so many people learn Spanish. And at one time, a lot of people learned French, because in Canada, I think it's Ontario, and I can't remember, there's places there where they speak a lot of French. But I've never spoken a French word hardly in my life. But anyhow, in Asia, you got like Japan and South Korea and Philippines, and China. In China, I remember in China, people were learning English by middle school. By like the 6th grade, they were learning English. And I believe in South Korea, I think they have to start learning English in the 4th grade. But all those countries depend on English for business, and to have a prosperous trade, you need to know a little bit about English. You have to, because much of the world's issues are all solved and done in English. Think about it. Even if you like to travel, you go to an airport, take a look and look how much English there is. Even in China, when I landed in Beijing in China, there's English everywhere. Now, in a smaller airport, maybe not so much, but when you land in Beijing, you get to see quite a bit of English. And a lot of people in the shop speak English. They're trying to help out that traveler. When I was looking here, I typed in some countries that, take an example here. English is the official language in India, and is spoken by more than 130 million people. All right. So I'm sure there's many more people that are, we're talking about over 1 billion people, but there's many people speaking the native tongue, but English is super important. It's so important it's held high esteem. And lots of Indian news is in English. A lot of newspapers, things like that. So English is big. In Malaysia, an example here, in Malaysia, English is the co-official language of Malaysia. Wow. See, that's a country with a lot of people. The students also, they got to know their native tongue, which they'll hear every day. Uh, English is the official language in Singapore. And one reason in Singapore, remember Singapore is a melting pot of Asia. You got Japanese and Koreans and Chinese. And so if they can get together and speak English together, have a common language. And I'll give you an example of this. When I was in Fuyang, my first year in China, guys, I met a wife I met a lady at the grocery store, and we got to talking because she saw me, knew I was an American or an English speaker, and we got to talking, and she was from the city of Fuyang, so her native language was Mandarin. Her husband, though, is from Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong they speak Cantonese, and even though the characters are, the same, within most contexts, the languages are different. And she could not understand him, but luckily they both knew English. So here they are, they got a married husband, got a husband and wife, and their language to each other is English. And when I talked to this woman, they were about to move to America where they'll be speaking English again. So English is a powerful tool. Japan, South Korea, Thailand is big on English, and they teach English really heavy, even in the small kids over there. A lot of them know English. Indonesia, obviously, Indonesia is another one of those. They're on the trade route. They make a lot of products in Indonesia. And it's required that they all have a basic knowledge. Okay, so that means at some point they're expected to know some English. Brazil, obviously China, we spoke about China, and the Philippines, it's a big deal. But to make this video wrap up a little bit, remember at the first of the video I asked you, do you know why they want you to learn English? Oh, it sounds cool and everybody does it. No. Now, here's what you got to think about. Alright. Math is the language of science. Music is the language of emotions. Well, in this case, here's where English comes in. English is the language of problem solving. All throughout the world, English is the world's problem solving language. And that's what I always told my students. Because in China, China's a big country, and they're very, have a strong sense of nationalism and things, and they don't understand why in school they're expected to learn English. Not all of them, but I've had them ask me more times than not, and I just tell them that one answer. I said, English is the world's problem-solving language. When we get together, when nations get together, English is the common denominator. Even if I come to your country and there's a business meeting, it will probably be conducted in English and translated back. Medical papers are almost always written in English. And I've had a bunch, and when I was in China, I've had to read a lot of essays where people are trying to do an all-English paper, an engineering or a medical term or something like that. And I've had to proofread that stuff, and it's really boring too, But anyhow, that's a little bit about English, guys. It's not America pushing English on you. It's you pulling English from us. It's the world's problem-solving language. Okay? So anyhow, you have a great day, and I give you something to think about. And we'll talk to you on the next video. All right? Bye-bye.